Well, after having the chance to really dig in on our game, it's frustrating that first off, it's just frustrating that we're not playing, and that's the whole thing, that the finality hits you so square in the face that you don't get to keep going, because we were in the mode for a lot more stuff, and the game was frustrating in that we weren't able to do some things that we thought we would do going in, and not moving it as well as we wanted to, not converting on third downs, was something that we were counting on being able to do, and so that kind of got us in the game. You could see how tight the game was at field goals and 10-6s and at halftime and all of that. That was okay with me. That was in fact. The fact that it was a tight game and all that was, that's kind of what we expected. So that was no problem. We just didn't get going, and so it was frustrating. And not running the football like we like was part of it, but really the converting on third down, which I know it's an old subject for us, but that was an issue. And you just don't get the turns to get the rhythm that you need. And so it was very limited opportunities, it felt like, and limited opportunities for us on offense, limited opportunities for Russ to get going, and I feel it and felt it during the game. But it was okay as long as it was close, and I think that we expected a lot, and I think I made an expectation on Fluke coming back and Swedes getting back out there without practice time. It's hard to expect those guys to play at top flight football, and the Dallas guys were coming off the rock, and they did a nice job excuse me, up front, and we weren't as sharp as we needed to be, and so that's really what it felt like watching the film and getting back through it and all that. So anyway, that's the game was frustrating. We loved that we had a shot to keep coming back and roaring back. We were going for twos throughout, and we made the adjustment with Seabass getting banged up, but the guys really went for it, and I think it was a statement really of what this season was all about. This season was a season of growth and progress and proving and coming to grips with who we are and what we could do, and in a great fashion. It was a marvelous season of work with our guys. It was so much fun to see these guys grow and to see them see the future and to go for it and not take a step back at any time as far as how they went about it and took to the challenges and all. And we come out of here with a great feeling about our future. Our guys are excited about it. They know that we can do some damage in the playoffs. They know that we can go a long ways, and they know that they have a lot of work ahead of them too. There's all the indications that where you come up short. There's enough of them. There's enough lessons here that we've learned, and so I mean, I love this team and I love where we're going, and it's going to be more competitive than ever. The roster will continue to be built and constructed to be competitive and bring out the best in our guys. And I think it's evident to me that we made a connection with our fans, that they can feel our team and they can feel the future with us. And it's exciting. And so we actually leave here, on a positive, in that we know that there's a lot of work to be done, but there's so much out there for us, and so it was a really good feeling about it, and tremendous frustration along with that. So at a time like this, you got to deal with all of it, and we did. So on we go.
You kind of defended Brian Schottenheimer on the radio earlier, pointed to a few statistics, third downs, low turnover numbers, things like. What are the key statistics that you think are indicative of what Brian?
Well, first off, for somebody to look at this game and say that somebody didn't do this or do that, and try to hold that against him or whatever, I think is really unfair. I mean, hold it against me. I mean, I'm the guy that's in charge of this thing, and there's nowhere to look at any individual guy here. In my opinion, it's a team thing, and but I'm on top of it, and I'm the one to be pointed at, and we couldn't have been more committed to being an aggressive football team than we were this year, and that meant that we're playing great defense and we're working on our teams and we're running the football and we're playing off of that. That's us. That's how we do it, and that's not anybody but starting with me. And so the fact that Shotty was working the game plan and trying to hammer the football is what we did every week, and that's how we've figured to win. And then when it doesn't work, you have to get moving and find the ways that you got to get there to get the game won, and that's what we were attempting to do. You forget maybe that the go-ahead touchdown drive in this game was a 9-play drive, I think. 8 plays were runs. you know. And we got the ball at midfield off great field position after a great kick, exactly like we like to do it. Defense held them. Here we go. And we knock it on down there. We fight our way through a fourth down conversion and make it to 14-10, you know. And okay, let's go from there. And so to try to blame Shoddy or the play caller or something on anything, that, you know, I understand that reaction, but you know, it isn't warranted. We had a hell of a season, and we did a bunch of good stuff, and we're just getting started. That's what it feels like.
Last year, I think you said penalties were the things you eliminated most after the year. What after this season were you maybe most frustrated or disappointed with overall?
I think we have to expect that we're going to make a big jump, growth-wise, experience-wise, and we had a lot of guys that played for us for the first time that contributed in big ways that we can anticipate really making a big step forward in terms of understanding the game, what it takes, developing what we refer to as leaving here as their mastery of their position and the play of NFL football. We're going to get so much better, and that's what it is. I don't see it as something that we didn't do. I think it's something that we're just going to grow towards, and with the leadership that we have and the direction that we're on and the chemistry that we have, I think it's to expect that we have to grow a lot and we have to see things better to avoid the issues that come up. And I mean, they can be in the kicking game, they can be in penalties, they can be on offense, they can be in defense, they can be any part of our game. We have to just clean it up and not give our opponents ways to get an advantage on us. And that's I showed them some examples yesterday on film. I showed them of guys making plays through their experience and their awareness and how you can anticipate growing as a player through the curiosity that it takes and the diligence that it takes and the work ethic that it takes and the time that you got to put in. We got to grow, and so that's why it's all on the up, because everybody knows that that's going to happen and take place. If it'll take us far enough, we'll do some big stuff next year.
Obviously, the issues you brought up in this game, but overall with offense, second most points, I think, in team history, and just the second half of the season with the numbers. How much do you feel the overall growth in the offense will help you guys go forward?
Yeah, I think it's all out there for us. I mean, we have a formidable running attack because of the guys up front, the mentality that we're going at it with, and the running back crew. This is an excellent room. That Chad Morton's coaching now. He's got guys that can do all kinds of different things. So we know that's a great strength. And we have a quarterback that you can absolutely count on. He doesn't turn the football over. He makes big plays. He throws touchdown passes. He can control the whole game now. This year was the year that Russ really took a step forward in control of what's happening across the board, run past the whole thing. He's able to change plays. He did it on the goal line to score the touchdown. I mean, there's multiple examples of that we've just taken a big jump forward, and we need to capitalize on that and get better at all aspects of that, because we got to get great at what we're doing.
How confident are you that you'll have Frank here next year and in the future?
I'm counting on it. We got a lot of work to do, but let me say this time of year, we always cite, it's a really difficult time. There's a lot of stuff that has to take place. There's a lot of business. John has a master plan of carrying this thing out. He's got a schedule and a calendar and all kinds of stuff that he's working. We're well into it. There's a strategy and a plan to carry this out, and our guys know we've communicated with everybody that we're ongoing, and there's a process to this, and it takes a long time. There's free agency coming up. There's our own contracts that we're dealing with. There's the draft coming up. All of that stuff is all what's at hand right now. It's this time of year, and we're really good at doing this, and we're going to carry it out with a real plan and a strategy to make us as strong as we possibly can. But the other side of that is, the individual questions about guys and stuff. We can't go into any of that right now, but. We want Frankie to be with us. We got some contract issues that we're going to be dealing with and discussions that will go on for months now.
What does Rashad need to do to be more of a factor next year?
Just be with us. Just be with us again. Go through the whole off season, hope for good health, and just compete, man. He's going to be really good. He showed it again the other night. He's going to be a really good player for us, and it gives us a tremendous 1-2 punch, 1-2-3 punch. We got combinations to throw at you, with our guys, and the competition will play that out.
I know you just said that about individual players, but KJ Wright, I mean, is he a guy you would like to see be able to continue?
We'd love to have KJ back with us. Yeah, and that's one of the many issues.
From the study of the film, how did the injuries to Sweezy and Fluker manifest in the game?
I thought that our timing was a little bit off early in the game, and you could see it improve during the course of the game. In the second half, we came out just more in control. We had to adapt to some things that they were doing, that they're moving up front, that and in some fashions we just had to adjust to. But I just felt like they just weren't quite as sure of the footing and their hat placement and stuff as they would be, because they needed to get back going again. They had been able to practice full speed for some time. Fluke had some plays a couple weeks ago, but no preparation for that, and no preparation in this week, to speak of. So it was very limited in their prep. That's why I felt like it was a lot to ask of them, but we went for it, and that's the way we decided to go with them.
How close was it to, as far as a game time decision, to start them or somebody else?
We worked Squeeze out in the pregame. It was a couple hours before game time, I don't know, whatever time that was.
You just touched on Rashad, but just this rookie class overall, with what you got guys like Trey and Will before he got hurt, Michael Dixon. How good do you feel about that group as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's a really good group. I think it's a group that's going to be here for a long time, factoring in. And they have special qualities that we love. The punter was phenomenal. Will was terrific starting his season off. We missed the heck out of him, but he's coming back, and we're thrilled to get him back. All the way through the ranks, all the play that we got from Trey. Trey had a fantastic season. Played good all the way through the stretch of the season when you might see a guy get worn down. He wasn't. He fought through it and was very competitive. I think you could see that Jacob Martin helped us a lot. Rasheem Green will come back and be a big factor, I think, in the competition of it all. He showed tons of good stuff during the course of the season. So a couple of the young guys we acquired, Puna had a great finish to the season too. Puna's legitimately going to play for starting time when we come back, and he'll be competing to do that. He warranted it, but with the activity. So everything was positive. I don't give me another name of guys I might have missed there, but there's a bunch of guys that Rashad is going to be a big factor. So it's a really exciting group, and I think the depth of it and the consistency throughout is what's really good about it.
Trey in particular, to do what he did as a rookie, changing positions, just how bright is his future as he gets more comfortable playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's the sky's the limit for him. Really, he's got all of the attributes that you're looking for, and he's a real heady player too, and he's going to learn and he's going to grow, and the savvy that he gains. He's one of those guys, the day that he steps back on with us in April, he's going to be a whole new football player because of what he's been through, and that you can't clear away from that first experience until you get away from it, and then you look back and all of the stuff and all of the lessons, and he should be a tremendously improved player, which is really bright because he played a good football season for us anyway. So.
Did Jamarco Jones, is his recovery going well?
Yeah, he looks great. He's in great shape. He's gained weight. He's stronger than he's ever been. He's already raring to go. So he'll be back, and there should be no hesitation with his return.
With KJ Wright, how much of a factor is him doing it the right way, him being there, being in your program, being a leader, to send a message to the rest of the locker room?
Well, I don't know that we've ever not been on that perch with him. He's been a fantastic player for us for years, in every way. He's been leader, he's been tough, he's been here, he's been consistent. His messaging, everything he stands for is what we love about him, and we'd love for him to be here throughout.
With Rashad, you had talked, I think, around the mid-season point about how coaches had really had to stay on him. How did you feel like he applied himself for the rest of the season after that?
He did really well. I thought during he's been growing throughout the process. That it was a jump for him, and like it is for the guys. It's a jump to be in the limelight, and particularly when you're a number one pick and everybody puts the pressure and the expectations on you and all of that. There's a lot going on, and you just got to go through it. He's a young kid. Rasheem Green's 21. And I don't know how old Rashad is right now, but he's a young kid too, and there's just so much ahead of these guys. every day was a learning experience for them, and to see what it's like. And they're not playing behind old guys that have been here for 6 or 8 years or 10 years that can tell them the ropes and all that. They're learning with new guys. I mean, Chris has just had his first full season playing, and so these guys are all learning together, and they're growing well together.
What did you see in the growth of Shaquille Griffin this season, and what do you need to see from him as he?
I thought he was very consistent throughout the year. I thought he was really solid. We counted on him, to be the guy. We're not even concerned about him. He's going to be all right because he had all of that experience of 1 year, But I think he had a good, solid season. I understand that there's some talk about his game this week. He missed a tackle and guy caught a fade route and he was all over the guy. He just couldn't get the ball played. I thought he played really good throughout the season, and he's tough and he's physical and he's consistent, and his approach is great. His competitiveness is absolutely rock solid. I think we're really lucky to have him playing, and he's just going to continue to get better. There's no question that he'll continue to improve.
You said on the radio that this is a group that can win championships in the future. Was there a moment that sold you on that potential, or was there anything specific that kind of informed that opinion?
I don't think there's a moment, but there was just the moments throughout the season, and the indications early on, the attitude was great. And then for the guys to carry through the challenges and the ups and downs of the early part of the season, and to stay and sustain the mentality, and to continue to grow and get better. And we won 6 or 7 games at the end of the year here. You could feel the guys should have won them all, and that connection that they have to what we're asking them to do, and the willingness to practice on a regular basis and to meet and to bring their attitude and to bring their energy all the time. It's rare and it's special, and I think that's what gives me the thought that, and I can go back a few years when I said the same thing, 5 or 6 years ago, whenever it was. You could tell that the nucleus and the core of the team that you need to be a championship club is here, and these are the guys we're going to build it around, and I couldn't be more adamant about that right now. That's where we are.
Did that core last year the changes you made saw a lot of those core guys from that previous group leave. Did you develop that new core this year, or is that still going to be ongoing into next year?
We took a big jump this year, and I think we have a real clear understanding of what we're trying to get done and how we're going to go about it. And the challenges, everything has been very much up front, very accountable, very open to the areas we need to get better, from the coaches through the players. Everybody's been, we did take a really good step in just our mentality in terms of accountability. I think we just got better at it. And we're willing to be vulnerable in stating the areas of accountability that we can improve on, and we took a step in that understanding and in that communication. I think it was a really instrumental part of the whole chemistry of what happened during this season, and that's going to carry us forward. It kind of goes back to, was there a moment? No, I don't think there's a moment, but there's enough moments that put it together where it's obvious, and so we're looking forward to it.
You mentioned on the radio trying to kind of capture
There's a lot on the radio today. Good.
We're listening. Trying to kind of capture the momentum.
You mean the Brock and Saul show?
Trying to capture the momentum at the end of the season and pick up where you left off. What's the key to doing that with this break?
Well, there is key, and that's the messaging that has been carried throughout. The message that came out of the meeting yesterday, the interactions of the players and the interactions and input from the guys who are in the leadership positions to connect and stay connected with our guys. And we get 3 months here or something. These guys are AWOL for us, and hopefully, everything goes well. It's really important that they have an individual plan that they organize and they get structured and they go about it. I mean, a lot of our guys, the young guys, were asking, like, do we go home? Do they go home to their home here? They go home to where they come from? They didn't know. And so those are the conversations, as basic as that may sound, of getting organized so that they can put together a really productive plan to do a great job until April 15th, I guess it is.
I guess I know the radio follow-up, but you mentioned on there about Russell.
That's the Brock and Saul show.
But you mentioned Russell, and he can be a free agent after the 19 season, and maybe talking to his representative. Is that something? Would you like to have Russell's long-term future secured before next season?
We're talking about all of that. Yeah, I mean, Russ and I met yesterday, and we're talking about the future, and we're talking about where we're going and what we want to get done, and you know, that's very much in our plans.
What did you make of Doug's season? Obviously, he was banged up a lot. But
I thought it was a heroic season for Doug. I thought it was so hard for him because it was so different. You know, he's never missed anything. Maybe there was a couple days in practice or something, you know, in years past. But he had to deal with that, and we had to kind of find a way in a mode that he could get through the weeks in prep. Which I don't mean to feel sorry for him, but it was just a challenge for him. It was just a new way of looking at the world, and he had to shift gears and all that. I thought he finished just in tremendous fashion. He made all of the plays he had chances to make. He came through, and he was huge down the stretch here, and I was really happy for that, so that he could recapture the feeling of, you know, being a big part of the club and what was going on, and you know, and being able to factor in like he pictures, you know, that he could. He's an incredible player.
do you have any idea what his future is here?
I'm planning on being right with us.
Guys like
Your-
go ahead.
Your scouting department, how do you guys plan to evaluate and utilize the new league?
Yeah, that's a good topic right now. We're all kind of excited about it. You know, we're going to take it in and do the evaluations where they allow us to. You know, when we can see them and all that. We'll do all the film work. We'll do everything. We'll break all of those guys down. We'll just take it as a whole nother aspect of a feeding system. You know, to give us information. And so the only way we know how to do it is totally go for it. So we're going to, you know, really embrace the whole setup. It's an exciting, you know, venture as always, and we think it's necessary. You know, we think it's a necessary opportunity that's been created, and we're really excited to see what it turns out. We're going to learn stuff. We'll learn a lot about these guys, and some of these guys are going to play. You know, so I think it's great. I hope it works out.
This first time for Baldwin and Wright to miss considerable game time with injuries. What does that say about the 7 and 8 year guys in terms of the NFL's actuarial tables about wear and tear on a?
I think it's the reality that the challenges grow. You know, the challenges grow for guys to stay healthy and all of that, and that's not exclusive to us. That's just sports. You know, in general, we all get a little older. Art, I know some of us don't. I know, but we have to deal with it.
Those guys like KJ,
Dave.
those guys like KJ or Frank or DJ, how much of not only their play or how much it's going to cost to keep them, how much of their impact on other guys, maybe in their position, will factor in?
It really does factor in. I mean, we all of that factors in. And in particular in our program where the relationships are so important to us, and what they add and how they help others play better around them. You know, it's one of the great factors that some athletes bring. They bring that factor that guys around them play better when they're next to them. And we have to evaluate that just as much as height, weight, speed, and try to understand where where to make the considerations and all that. There's no question that's important. So you hear me always go back to the leadership has been so significant around here, and we've had such great direction from guys. And the really exciting thing is to watch guys grow into that position. Frank is a great example of that, and he has just grown in to become a voice and a constant. And those guys, they bring value in that manner for sure.
John talked back in March, I think, at the league meetings about not changing the way they evaluate guys, but maybe putting a little more emphasis on the love of football and kind of the type of guys you like. How much did that show up this year?
I think it showed up across the board in the draft class, and Puna, and figuring out that Jordan Simmons fit with us too, and Elijah, and these guys, some guys that fit with us and added to our team. It's so important. Mentality, so important, the competitiveness and the chip on the shoulder that the guys bring, and this attitude that they've got to prove something. Those guys are, we've lived with those guys. You know, they've been the core of this team for years, and I think it's the element for any team in any sport anywhere. You know, it's that grit that they bring that makes them uniquely stand out and uniquely hang tough and persevere and all the stuff that stands for, you know. And so we're going to just continue to try to evaluate even more deeply, to understand our guys more so that we can count on what we're going to get from the guys. And it's not always about how fast they are or how big they are. I mean, the great example, let's just talk about Puna. You know, Puna's 5'11", and he was player of the year in his conference because he was a great player in college. And he got overlooked to the point where we had a chance to get him in free agency, and we got him. That's a classic example. He's a baller. And it'll be really tough to keep him down, you know, because he's just such a good football player, and it means so much to him, and he cares so much about it. It's a great attribute of a guy. So hopefully that's consistent throughout.
Well, the challenge of integrating as many new coaches as you did, what's the challenge there, and how do you feel like that went?
Well, it's certainly a challenge, and it sets you back time-wise, you know, because it takes a while to communicate and to learn and to study and all that, and that process is still ongoing. We're still getting, Shadi and I and Kenny and I will come back around again, and we'll go through everything, all of our guys. We start tomorrow, you know, we already go to work on it, to put together what happened, what took place, what we set out to do, what we would do differently, how we would see it differently, what we've learned from our players, what we've learned from our coaches. The combination of Shadi and Mike working together, Mike Solari, they did a marvelous job together, but there's adjustments to be made there too as we go forward. Adjustments in what our players are capable of doing. All of those things have to be evaluated. So it is a big challenge. And it's not over, and we're just in the middle of it. Everything is a competition for us. We're competing to figure all that out. So it's obviously is a challenge that we could handle, but we think we could do better. We're going to try to improve and find every way we can to make this as competitive a club as we can. And that's all that work is going to call for.
Do you believe there'll be any changes on your coaching staff?
I don't know. There's a lot of changes in the league coming, you know. So who knows? I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see how that goes, but we don't anticipate any major changes.
What was your overall assessment of sort of the special teams and obviously Janikowski, I guess, and if he's got? I
think we had some ups and downs. We had a great stretch in the middle that we were really on it, and I thought that we showed some vulnerabilities late in the year on returns, you know, and part of that was, you know, adapting to the kicker, you know, the punter. I mean, it's just what happened. It was a classic example of, you know, driving the ball so deep, and Devon Austin gets all that room to run, and he found a little space on us, you know. He kicked the ball 68 yards or something to get that done. Mike just missed that ball getting out of bounds, you know, which he's great at doing. But I think there's some newness too, and I think as you get on in the season, the inexperience can show up more so in that, you know, the experienced guys can take advantage of a young guy that makes an error or misses an opportunity and all of that. Again, that's an area where we think we can improve and get better just through maturity. But I thought that there was a little bit of inconsistency there that showed up, and there were some big plays that happened that we weren't accustomed to, and they weren't all in the same area, and so I think that shows us that it is our guys. We just got to keep growing with them and make sure we're giving them the right opportunities and teaching them well and helping them grow so that they can make the right decisions and choices and all.
You mentioned at the start today that you felt like this team made a real connection with the 12s and the fans and the potential. What is your final message to the Seattle fan base as you kind of close the door on 2020?
I appreciate that. This was a really exciting year, and I know that we exceeded expectations on the outside, not so much that we exceeded expectations on the inside. We had high hopes for being where we are, and I love this team because of who they are and what they're all about, and how they bring it, and the style that we have and the style that we can continue to develop that can single us out and make us something special. And I don't think there's any doubt that that's the case. And I think that just in hearing comments, as the season grew, I think our fans learned our players, and they started to grow with them, and they anticipate their plays because the familiarity began to become obvious. And I think as our season crescendoed, the ceiling crescendoed too, and I think all of the interaction and the response, and we saw the people that would be there for us when we're leaving and we're traveling and all that continue to grow, and like we've seen in the past, all of that is just great signs for really high hopes and big expectations for the future. I don't mind the big expectations at all. I don't mind them one bit. These guys are worthy of it.
CJ Prosise, Samara Darbo, those guys still fit into things?
Yeah, I hope so. I saw Amari yesterday. He's he looks great. He should be fine. And CJ he really needed the surgery that he had. It was a little more extended than we thought. But he'll be back from that. That's about a 8-week recovery or something like that. So he'll be fine. Be a great competitive position, for us. And I love CJ's play. I think he's a fantastic player. He just has had that bug about staying healthy that he's had to deal with. But he's a terrific competitor when he's out there. So it'll be exciting to see him back.
Have you talked to Earl?
Not recently.
See him back?
We'll see what happens. I don't know yeah, Earl's a great player. I don't know what that means for contract and all that stuff. But it's one of the issues. We got a bunch of them.
Was Janikowski's injury something that would need surgery, or was it that?
I don't know that yet. I haven't heard back on that yet. It was significant. He thought not. He didn't think that he, did something out of the ordinary of a hamstring pull, but it was certainly significant.
Shaquem had a lot more on him than most rookies would. Just now that he's gone through a whole season, how did he handle everything that came with him?
Well, I think you guys watched him. I think he handled it really well. I think the two of them, gaining strength from each other, made their way through it with all of the attention and the focus on the brothers and all of that. That they competed great. They were always here. Their mentality was great every day. Every day they were consistent with their attitude and their approach to it. I think Griff gave himself a chance to be a factor in a lot of ways on the team. He showed up. He played hard. He worked hard. He learned a lot at playing his linebacker spot. He's come miles from where he started. So I think he handled it really well. But it's hard to separate them handling it together. They just kind of they're peas in a pod, and I thought it was a very successful year under all of the attention.
Jermaine Ifedi, what did you think of his season?
He had a good year. He improved throughout the year. He was very steady, and really took to Mike and BC's coach, and they worked with him, to make sure that he was working to improve the whole time, and his attitude towards getting better and technique-wise and scheme-wise. He's a legit player.
You think your young defenders responded to the pressure of the first playoff game and on the road and 90,000 people?
We didn't have any problem at all. It wasn't even an issue. We can go anywhere, and that evidenced again in that game. They played great football, hard and tough, and all that. We got to get rid of the errors. We got to clean up, continue to clean up, and they will. I don't think it had anything to do with where we were playing.
Did you see more disciplined play from Jermaine this year?
I don't know about discipline. Yeah, well, in terms of he had the penalties thing that really jumped out a year ago. He did better, for sure there. But he's just growing, learning, knows what he can do and what he can't do better, and he's much more consistent. Came out of the season physically in great shape, so he should have a terrific offseason and should come raring back again. We should count on those guys up front to be really good now. They should be improved and just the step forward, just with the system and all the things that we asked them to do differently. Well, they'll be better, and he certainly will too.
You've kind of talked about the expectations from the outside, but within, did you guys meet with your expectations for the season?
We were approaching it. We can see the future, and that's kind of how I would say it. That we can tell where we can go, and we can. Our expectations are that we needed to go further this year and keep going and keep playing, and everybody feels like that. Nobody was satisfied with the outcome.
Go forward, like you're talking about. What are the areas you feel like you need to shore up?
Well, it's interesting, John and I are, in our conversations as we're putting together. I'm not going to share that with you directly, but we're pleased with the progress that we've made with the guys we have, and so we know that we're adding to. We don't feel like there's big voids, big holes, and so we're going to add to, and that's why to make this roster more competitive across the board is really the intent, and make guys have to work harder to hold their spots and to keep their spots and have to get better to do that. That's right at the heart of what we're all about, and so we're really looking forward to that.
What impact did Cam Chancellor have on the defense this season, even though he wasn't able to play, obviously, but how was his voice felt?
Cam's pretty quiet. He kind of travels quietly, and carries the big stick kind of guy, and I loved having him around. Every time that he was with us on the road late in the season, I just loved him being with us and because he is a steadying force. He's one of those guys that helps other people perform better and feel more confident and feel better about themselves. And he has a way of doing that. So he was very helpful. And I hope that we can keep him close to the program. He's got great input.
You mentioned the line. Free agents. Just both DJ and JR can be free agents. I mean, would you like to try to keep all that core together as much as you can?
We'd love to keep those guys with us. Yeah, we would love to do that.
You had 2 years now with your 2017 draft class, and they progressed at you the way you would hoped when you got like that's Shaquille, that's Tedrick, Delano.
Give me some names.
David, Chris Carson.
Yeah, those guys are really worth talking about. Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because they're hugely instrumental in what's moving forward here. Look at the difference between Delano and Tedrick's play a year ago and how they contributed now. I think Delano's going to be really good. He's just getting started. Tedrick we've been excited as can be about, and he's just getting going too, really. Chris Carson had a fantastic season for us. What a player he is, and what a contributor he is. What a great draft pick that was. So those guys are a big part of it. Give me another. Who's another name? Yeah, David Moore, and he was the guy I pointed out yesterday. Maybe one of the guys that can improve the most from year 2 to year 3, because of where he's come from, the sparks that he showed during the season. A fantastic competitor on this roster to play and to be a factor a year from now. So, I mean, if you had 4 guys like that, and who's the other one you said? Yeah, Nas has been moved to 5 technique. We're excited about that. We did that in the middle of the year to see him contribute out there. That's a tremendous statement about that class too. That's why it feels like it feels. There's 2 solid years of young guys that are right in the middle of just the start of their career, and they're with us, and they're good dudes, and they work hard, and they care, and all that. I can't talk any more positive about how we see the future. So those guys are the reason. They are the future. That's the guys I'm talking to in this room. That's probably 10 draft picks, at least maybe it's 12 draft picks in the last couple of years that are right in the middle of everything. So it's exciting.
Did Tyler Lockett exceed your expectations?
Wow, I always think about the analogy of a baseball player that gets a big contract, then he hits $198 or something the next year, and that didn't happen, He got a new contract, he got rewarded for the work that he had done and the future that holds, and then he just took off, and it was a challenging year for Tyler. He was very emotional about the whole transition of getting the new contract and being, and representing his future and all that. I mean, it was a really big deal to him. It really mattered to him that he did well, and man, did he do well. That the stat that we got to always remember. I don't even know where the stat comes from, but having the highest efficiency that you can possibly have with your quarterback. I mean, I've never heard of that stat being taken, into account, but. What a number. Look what he did last game. We threw 2 balls. He had 4 or 5 catches for 100 and something yards. He just did it again. Every single opportunity he showed, he came through. And he's got to be considered one of the most explosive, one of the most dynamic players in the game. I mean, that's what he looked like, and he showed it. And so I'm really excited about that.
How do you keep this unity together, knowing the team is going to change somewhat every offseason, but how do you...
Really, really well.
You have, yeah, I'm sure you do.
Appreciate that.
Do you have enough of a core to do that? I mean, how does that, every team's different, so how does that going to change next year?
Yeah, okay, we got nowhere else to go, right? We're just still here. Really. I'm going to take that challenge on personally to do everything I can to find the ways to make sense to these guys of where we're going and how they, in their individual ways, can contribute to this by figuring out who they are, what are the possibilities that they could venture into to create the most dynamic aspect of themselves for this team, and that's in every aspect of developing them and challenging them and teaching them and challenging them to find their greatness. Really, that's what this is. It's challenge them to find how deep they can dig and how much they have in there, so that they don't miss this opportunity to be the best they can possibly be. And that's maybe sounds like a bunch of, I don't know, language to you, but that's what this is. And it's one guy, individual, his story, his world, where he's coming from. How can he tap into it, and how can we kick him in the ass to figure out how to push him and then love him up and hug him up and whatever it takes to get that done. And so I got a bunch of guys that are working with it that care in the same fashion. The staff cares that way. They understand this is what we're all about. We want the culture of this building to be obvious. You walk in here, you can tell that something's going on here. That's part of it, and that means that's an everyday, never stop, ethic and really, it's the ethos of this place that we have to have that intact, and I got to make sure that happens. And to take on that challenge is, that's the life's challenge I love, and so that's what we got to do, and see where that leads us.
Did this season rejuvenate you as a coach at all?
Yeah, I've had more fun. I agree with Sweeze. Sweeze had more fun than he's ever had. So did I. It was a blast. I loved that game. I know it was ugly and hard at times and all that, but I loved that we were in it and fighting and clawing and scratching up and down the sidelines, seeing guys, find their belief again, rediscover that belief of why we should keep believing. Here, sure enough, Russ hits Tyler, and here we go. We're coming back, and it's an exciting part of it. And this season was just kind of at the tip of it, with so much more. There's so much more out there, so it's a blast. Appreciate it. I'll sign off now. See you.